Most people think Taoism and Buddhism are basically the same thing. They both come from Asia. They both talk about inner peace, letting go, and living with less stress. So it sounds like they must be twins. But here's the truth. They are not the same. And the difference is not small. When you finally see it, it can change how you deal with worry, pain, control, and even the way you see your own mind. And there is a reason this matters so much today. We live in a world of noise, pressure, and constant thinking. Many people search Taoism versus Buddhism because they want something calm and real. They want mindfulness that actually helps. They want meditation that does not feel confusing. They want a spiritual practice that makes life lighter, not harder. So let's make this clear in plain language with 4 key differences you should know. Before we compare them, let's set a clean base. Taoism began in China, and one famous text linked to it is the Tao Te Ching, often connected with Lao Tzu. Taoism is built around the Tao, which means the way. Buddhism began in India, and it is linked to Siddhartha Gautama, the Buddha. Buddhism is built around the Dharma, which means the teaching or the path. Both are part of Eastern philosophy, but they point your attention in different directions. Now, here is the first key difference, and it is the one most people miss. Taoism starts by watching life outside of you. Buddhism starts by watching life inside of you. Taoism looks at nature and says, "Look how the universe moves." It watches water, clouds, seasons, mountains, and rivers. Buddhism looks at the mind and says, "Look how suffering begins." It watches craving, fear, anger, and the stories your thoughts keep telling. Think of it like this. Taoism is like learning from a river. The river does not argue with the rock. It does not panic. It keeps moving, and it finds a way. Buddhism is like learning from a mirror. The mirror shows you what is really there, even if you do not like it. One path teaches you to flow with reality. The other path teaches you to see reality clearly, especially inside your own mind. The second key difference is the goal. In Taoism, the goal is not to win life, it is to stop fighting life. A famous Taoist idea is Wu Wei, which is often explained as effortless action. That does not mean doing nothing. It means doing the right thing at the right time without forcing, without pushing, without trying to control everything. It is action that fits the moment, like a sail catching the wind instead of trying to punch through a storm. In Buddhism, the goal is more direct and more specific. Buddhism talks about Nirvana, which is not a place like a vacation spot. Nirvana means the ending of the fire of craving and the ending of the kind of suffering that comes from clinging. Buddhism teaches that suffering grows when we hold tight to things that always change. When you see this deeply, the grip loosens. You stop chasing and you stop running. That is why Buddhism often speaks about waking up or awakening. Some people get this wrong, so let me say it clearly. Taoism is not just go with the flow in a lazy way. And Buddhism is not life is sad in a gloomy way. Taoism is about smart harmony with life. Buddhism is about deep freedom from unnecessary pain. Both are practical. Both can change your daily life. But they do it in different ways because they aim at different problems. Now we come to the third key difference: how you practice. Taoism is often less strict and less step by step. It is more like a way of living than a checklist. It teaches simplicity, softness, and naturalness. It often asks questions like, where am I forcing? And what happens if I loosen my grip? Taoism likes learning by observing and adjusting, like tuning an instrument until it sounds right. Buddhism, in many forms, is more structured. It teaches the Four Noble Truths, which explain why suffering happens and how it can end. It also teaches the Noble Eightfold Path, which includes how you understand, how you speak, how you act, and how you focus your mind. Meditation is not just a nice idea in Buddhism, it is a central tool. Many Buddhist practices train mindfulness, attention, and compassion in a steady, daily way. Here is a simple picture. Taoism teaches you to stop clenching your fist. Buddhism teaches you to open your hand and look at what you are holding. Taoism says, relax the force. Buddhism says, see the attachment. One reduces friction with life. The other pulls out the root of suffering. If you are someone who overthinks, overplans, and tries to control everything, Taoism can feel like cool water. If you are someone who gets stuck in anxiety, anger, or fear loops, Buddhism can feel like a clear lamp in a dark room. People also ask a common question, and it is a fair one. They say, if the Tao cannot really be named, why talk about it at all? Here is the simple answer. You can describe how something shows up without trapping it in a perfect definition. You may not be able to define love in a single sentence, but you know what love feels like when it is present, and you know what it feels like when it is gone. Taoist language often points, like a finger pointing at the moon, not trying to grab the moon. Now, the fourth key difference: how each tradition sees the self and the world. Taoism often speaks in pairs like yin and yang, light and dark, soft and hard, full and empty. It teaches that these are not enemies, they belong together. Life has seasons. It expands and it contracts. Taoism says wisdom is learning to move with these cycles instead of fighting them, and learning that the right answer can change with the moment. Buddhism puts a strong spotlight on impermanence, the truth that everything changes. Your body changes. Your feelings change. Your thoughts change. Your plans change. And Buddhism also teaches non-self, the idea that there is no fixed, solid me inside that never changes. Instead, what you call self is more like a moving process. When you really see this, you stop taking every thought so personally. You stop believing every fear story. And that is a big reason mindfulness and meditation can become so powerful in Buddhist practice. Let's bring this into real life because this is where viewers really feel it. Imagine you are stressed at work. Your phone keeps buzzing. Your mind keeps racing. Your chest feels tight. In a Taoist approach, you might ask, where am I forcing? You might simplify. You might do fewer things, but do them better. You might stop pushing a problem that is not ready to move and instead wait for the natural opening. In a Buddhist approach, you might sit down and observe your mind. You might notice the thought, I am failing, or I will not be okay. And you would practice seeing it as a passing thought, not as a fact. You might use mindfulness of breathing. You might watch the feeling of stress rise and fall like a wave, without feeding it with panic. You are not trying to crush the emotion. You are learning not to be dragged by it. So, Taoism helps with the outside flow of life, and Buddhism helps with the inside flow of the mind. Taoism teaches you how to live with less strain, like walking with the wind instead of against it. Buddhism teaches you how to untie the knots in your thinking so you suffer less from what your mind creates. That is why so many people today search for Taoism, Buddhism, mindfulness, meditation, inner peace, and spiritual growth. They want relief that is real, not just pretty words. And here is the best part. You do not have to turn this into a fight. You do not have to pick one and reject the other like teams in a game. In history, many people in China and other places learned from both Taoist wisdom and Buddhist teachings. They used Buddhism when they needed clear mind training, compassion, and deep insight into suffering and attachment. They used Taoism when they needed to stop forcing, stop tightening, and return to a more natural way of living. So, if you remember only one thing from Taoism versus Buddhism, 4 key differences you should know, remember this. Taoism teaches harmony with the way, and Buddhism teaches freedom from the chains of clinging. One helps you flow with life. The other helps you see through the illusions that create suffering. Both can support you, not as perfect answers, but as maps that point toward more calm, more clarity, and a kinder relationship with your own mind and the world around you.